Why do I feel like I linger between the words to say the words to remember. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all, lose it all, lose it.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the grand finals of the Newell Rocket League Summer Championship. I'm Sig, and tonight I am joined by Bass. And our first game, Bass, if you want to introduce it, is Loughborough versus Essex.
It is indeed. This is an interesting one. There's a lot on the line for both of these teams here. Essex, a much better result than they had last season. Were able to make playoffs, but finished around 5th to 6th last season. They come in here with the Summer Championships. They've already gotten better results than last time, but now they've got a chance to take down the defending champions in Loughborough Lions. Loughborough, this would be their 4th title in a row at this point, Sig. It'd be absolute domination here in Newell, but the question is really whether or not they can get this done. They've already lost once in this bracket. They are in the lower finals here against Essex. Loser of this is the end of their tournament. They still get a good chunk of change in 75 pounds for the team, but at this point, it's for the Lions, it's about pride. It's about going back to back to back to back and getting yet another title for the team.
Unquestionably, and I think they will be slightly miffed about that earlier loss against UWE, if I recall correctly, Game 7 in a best of 7. Always going to sting no matter which side you're on, and I think they just have to hope that they've learned from it and they're able to adapt to however UWE's been playing.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be an interesting one for them. Again, like you said, in a best of 7, it always can be a little bit deflating to lose that 7th game and then have to try and recover and get back into a tournament like this. But a little bit of time in between the games. They've got enough time now that I'd have to imagine that they're a little bit more prepared for what might happen here on the pitch. That being said, it's going to be a battle for both teams. No matter what, both of these squads are going to have their absolute best play here on the pitch if they want to try and make it past. And again, for both of these teams, this is still not the end here. Even if they do end up winning this lower bracket matchup, they've still got the Sea Stags waiting for them in the grand finals where they will have to bracket reset win in order to get the championship, meaning they have to win 2 series in a row if they get this one. So technically 3 series in a row for whichever team takes it out of this lower bracket.
Yeah, that's a long night and potentially 21 games. Of course, not expecting that many. You expect at least one of these series isn't going to go to a Game 7. But definitely going to be stressful. I suppose we should probably take a moment to focus on Essex. They're a solid team in their own right. Recently got to the top 12 of the University Rocketeers Summer Series. That's the whole of Europe competition. So it definitely can't be underestimated heading against Loughborough.
No, not at all. We have to make sure that both of these teams do, or I guess the audience, I should say, should understand that the teams here that we have are both very capable of taking down one another. This really could be a coin flip at the end of the day. But again, this is something we were talking about behind the scenes a little bit before getting into this one. This is probably Essex's best chance at taking this championship here. Loughborough, like we said, they're 4-time champions if they take this one, 4-time in a row, back to back to back to back. This is the first time that they've seemingly been able to be toppled by some of the other competition here. So for Essex, this is about pouncing when they got the opportunity. Now that they do have the ability to knock Loughborough out of this entire competition, they've got to do it right here, right now. They will not get a better chance than this. So we're going to have to find out. This is not going to be an easy battle no matter what, but I'm interested in your thoughts going into this one, Sig. Do you think that Loughborough are going back to another grand final here for Newell, or do you think that finally Essex is going to get their chance at this championship?
Now, I'm scared because this isn't the roster that we're all used to seeing coming out from Loughborough in major tournaments. Of course, the other domestic tournaments they've won this year, they're on with both Matt and Crimson on the pitch. Tonight, they have Tom stepping in, who is a solid player on his own right, but is more known for his defensive prowess and might not fit in quite so well.
So it does sound like you've got a little bit of hesitations here. Does that mean that indeed you're going to be taking Essex for this one? Do you think that Loughborough are still going to have the ability?
I've stuck my 2K channel points on Essex, so I think I'm going to have to back myself. They'll be berating me in the Discord with a love for people, but yeah,
I'd love to see it.
I think I have to side with Essex just on the basis that they're not fielding a full roster.
That's a fair point. I get it. Again, sometimes it's that synergy that really does carry a team to a final like this. And I would have to agree with you on this one. I think that this is Essex's best chance. I've had the ability to see them a couple times throughout the season. They've impressed me every single time. And as much as Loughborough are a very, very capable team, it's about taking the opportunities when you get them. So for Essex right now, this is a huge chance for them to absolutely dominate and just show the prowess of what these guys could do. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, like we said, but it's probably the best chance that they're going to get all season. So we're going to have to hope that we do get at least a best of 7 here that goes the distance. I would love to think that this does see another Game 7. If the final 3 matches or potentially 4 of this entire tournament come down to a Game 7 deciding, I'm going to be pretty happy. I think I'm pretty satisfied with that result, Sig.
Yeah, always brings the sort of wow factor and the excitement for Twitch chats. I know you'll be looking forward to tonight's action. Just waiting on these players to get comfy, get ready with maybe for some of them with their Logitech G Gear, the best-selling equipment in the world currently.
I do want to give a quick shout out to Logitech, like you were saying. Huge shout out to them. Thank you for all the help that they've provided here.
I've already bottled one shout out tonight. Let's try and avoid doing that later on. Sorry, Logitech.
Well, so far here, like you said, we were just trying to make sure that everybody is all prepared for this matchup, making sure that all the technical difficulties are sort of ironed out so that we've got everybody, as comfortable as possible going into this one. I think we've definitely, put in a lot of our theories, but as we were mentioning earlier, you're putting channel points into this one. If you guys have bets, make sure to let us know in chat. Let us know who you think might just be walking away with the title here today. And again, the title is not just the title alone. In addition to that, it is £90 going to the winning team. A good chunk of change all around. It's always nice to see, university students getting the ability to compete for some actual money and really starting to feel what this pressure is like, because while some of these guys are obviously just competing in a university level, there are other competitions they're able to play in, and it really does give them a lot of good practice in these high intensity situations to, sort of see what it'll be like in the future when there's even more money on the line.
Definitely, and I think we can expect to see the prize pools just keep rising in Europe, of course, this season with Newell starting that roughly doubles the domestic prize pool. And again, only onwards and upwards next year. I think we are just about to get into this first game, though. Loughborough in the blue, Essex in the orange.
It's going to be a battle and a half. I'm very excited to get into this one. Like you said, a little bit of leaning towards Essex on this one, but the real question is whether or not we see this series go the distance in a best of 7 here. We've got plenty of time for either team to start getting adjusted. It seems like Stam's already out the gate trying to get his team on board. Crimson will finish off the shot, and she will get credited, but a solo play at a Stam to start this one makes me think that Loughborough might be confident in this trio.
Definitely, and I may have had doubts, but they've already been set aside slightly. Essex really not looking strong at the start there. Saw 2 players moving to the near post against just 2 attackers. That's not the efficiency we want to be seeing. Lex, though, opening up a lot of space for those who don't, could open up an opportunity for Essex. George playing this one out to switch. He's going to get it to the midfield, but Tom's there to field it back towards the corner.
So far, so good from both teams. A little bit of nerves being shown here in game number 1, but I think the honest-to-God truth is that as we get further into the series, it's going to be a little bit more coordinated. Oh, my word, a little bit less chaos in front of the net there as Essex almost give up a second goal. But so far, so good here from Essex. They might have been shaken a little bit from that first goal, but sometimes you see a team, they take that first goal, and unfortunately, they just kind of fall apart. For Essex, it's a good recovery here that might just give them a goal and a possibility to tie this one up.
And that could be the opportunity right there. Switching the plate in front of the net, but Crimson going to dive on her own line to make sure that one doesn't trickle in. Of course, maintaining that lead was... Oh, no. I've just seen what happened there. Fortunately for Lex, he got bumped into it. It's not like he backflipped and saved the ball off his own teammate, but it's still going to be massively tilting. And early in the series, that's not a situation you want to be in. Crim now going to pass this one. That was actually going to get cut off in the midfield, so Loughborough still struggling to break out of their own half.
Struggling to break out, but so far the defense has done a good job of shutting down most of these opportunities. I got to wonder if Essex is going to be looking back at that play later and just trying to think of how they could have adjusted it a little bit more, but luckily enough for them, like you said, continual offensive pressure. Well, might have spoke too soon. Here comes Loughborough on the other end. If they can get a second goal here, it would be huge for them to just kind of stomp out any confidence from Essex to start this game.
Well, Tom's bailed out of that touch, but he has swung back around, got it back to Stab and broken it away from some of the Essex players. They're back on offense though, and I'll be honest, their offensive skills have been looking far more dangerous than Loughborough so far in terms of the number of shots being able to put towards the net, the number of times they've got the ball into the box, not necessarily travelling towards the goal. And that was a really solid opportunity from Essex. Their switch able to change up the direction of the ball so much, catching the Loughborough defenders off guard massively.
I mean, there's been a lot of good opportunities so far here. Essex already have 5 shots within the first half of this game, but just don't have a goal to show for it. They keep trying to play these ones out of the corner with a slow play from pretty much everybody on the team, but as you can see on the other end, Crimson, she just rips off a shot immediately. Stam going to put one into the backboard. Tom's there for the recovery, but just look at the efficiency out of Loughborough right now. They are putting on good shots. They don't need a lot of time on offense in order to make a lethal approach. So for Essex right now, it's about trying to find something a little bit more creative. They keep trying to play these into the corner and then getting passing plays to the center, but almost every time, as we can see right there, they're getting cut off. Tom and Stam both getting in the way of that one and just not allowing Essex a clean shot on target.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you think Essex need to be more decisive and make a very quick play to sort of change up the style they've been playing so far, which has been more controlled?
100%. It seems like they just aren't really playing this one with a lot of foresight in mind when it comes to developing a play. They finally do get one pass to go to the center, though, and unfortunately they can't quite link up. So, again, Essex, their offensive efficiency really does need to change if they want a shot at winning this in the next 90 seconds.
Well, I think as long as they keep the ball in the half, they've got a chance. Of course, if they maintain control of the ball, they can keep it in the air at 0 seconds for as long as they need. Hopefully, Loughborough will maybe change it up at that point, try and force the ball to the ground. That is, of course, the only way you can get the game to end, unless you somehow get it into the back of the net. Stam, though, he's going to try and sort this one out himself. Being under a lot of pressure, have the Loughborough side. Crimson having to make a save on the back post, going to tip it high. Going to take another one now, can't beat out Jordan. That one is going to trickle into the top corner. Loughborough, the one's taking too much time on this occasion.
Finally, Essex do get something to land here. Crimson with not the greatest touch out of the corner. She's just a little bit too sloppy with that one, but that's all that it takes. Essex have to jump when they get the opportunities, and they've done exactly that. It took them 7 shots in 4 minutes to finally find one, but maybe now they've got some confidence. Maybe they can start to get some better shots on target. Switch trying to do exactly that and give Essex the late game win. But no such luck here. Loughborough now going to go with the counterattack, and hopefully Essex can survive, and we get to see an overtime here in game number 1. Oh, that's if Essex doesn't score a second goal, as they are back on the approach yet again.
Oh, they do have to be careful they don't get too hasty. I saw they got 2 players on the ball, not at the same time, but they both ended up being a bit far forward, and I think if Tom's pass from the right wall from the perspective we're looking at now had been any better, Essex would have been in a significant amount of trouble.
Quite yet, though. So far here, a little bit of a back and forth almost to end this game. I feel like we're going to see overtime here unless Loughborough can get a real nice touch off and get a solid shot on target. This just feels like they've been in a stalemate for quite some time. See if the stalemate might break here. Tom goes up for this one, puts it on target, but Switch is very prepared. Ooh, not the greatest clear. This might go right back to Loughborough, and it's going to go right to Stam, who goes high with this one off the ceiling, and it won't go in. Just barely off target, but indeed, we go to overtime here in game number 1. A late goal for Essex has kept them in this game, but Loughborough, they're starting to look a little bit more shaky than before. The nerves might just be setting in now.
Yeah, and I think you have to bear in mind, when you get a shot like that, your nerves are on fire. The ball just dropped off. It's looking like, I think from my perspective, like it's going towards the net. Maybe for the players, it was slightly less anxiety-inducing. But definitely a bit of a shake-up for rest. They seem to have recovered nicely, though. I think put another shot on, and that demo from Georgia Shore to open up even more space.
Now, though, here comes a quick counterattack out of Lockborough. They're trying their best to keep with these quick attacks, and I liked it to start the game because it felt like they were starting to catch their opponents off guard, but now that XX is a little bit more prepared, these quicker touches as Crimson comes flying across just to sort of touch it, feels a little bit disorganized. Lockborough look a little bit more panicked than before, and Sig, I don't think if they continue with the strategy, I don't see them getting many good shots here in overtime versus the shots we're seeing out of Essex there. George with a ripper on target, just barely saved by Stam, but I'm liking what we're seeing out of Essex. They got one goal in their favor, and confidence is a-flowing for this team.
And I think confidence is what you have to have. It's a long series. You don't want to get shaken early, and of course, game 1 and overtime, pretty shaky as it is. You know, you're still going through that feeling out period, which I think is definitely what we saw from maybe not having adapted quite as effectively yet. And so, you know, taking control early would be nice. George, though, is going to put a shot towards target, blocked by Tom. He had an opportunity at the second, but I think Stam was there to help out as well.
Good play so far out of both teams. I'm liking that we're starting to see a little bit more settle down here in the overtime. Neither team is really playing as aggressively. They're not playing as risky. Okay, I might have spoke too soon there. Yep, indeed. Just as I say, we start to see some safety. It's another unfortunate touch here for Lockborough. That's going to be enough. Stam just kind of passes it straight out to the center, and Switch puts a ripper on target. Tom trying their best to recover, but unfortunately, Sig, it's a little bit of a sloppy loss here for Lockborough. The Lions give away a couple touches that just get punished immediately by Essex.
I mean, if I think about those 2 goals, one was a touch of Crimson off one of the walls into the midfield as an attempt at a pass. And I'm pretty sure the second one, as we just saw, was Tom trying to find Stam in the midfield, or perhaps the other way around, and then the ball just being hit too far forward. You have to be so careful when you put these balls straight out into the middle, because it is a centre, not only for your own team, but potentially for the other one, depending how far back in the pitch you do it.
100%. And the crazy thing about all of this is the fact that it was so quick on the punishment here. That should show the level of play that we're dealing with right now. Both of these teams are beyond capable, and aside from just being capable, if you do make a mistake, they're going to accentuate it tenfold. So right now for Lockborough, it's about trying to play with a little bit more calmness, a little bit more control over the pitch, because I felt like a lot of the mistakes they were making just were small little nerve things where they were trying to be a bit quicker than their opponents, but in doing so, they just made some sloppy touches.
I think that is something you have to be wary of when you're using a sub like Tom. Yes, he's a good player in his own right. I think he's on about the same level as Stam, but Stam historically has worked very well with the normal composition of Matt and Crimson. But when you bring a new player in like that and you immediately start going for passing plays, you end up losing some of that synergy, some of that chemistry that allows you to link up so effectively. Loughborough, though, are looking for another early goal. If only they were looking quite so strong, in the middle and the end of some of these games, I guess, Bass.
Yeah, you'd love to see them play this consistently throughout, as this is a very aggressive start for them. Unfortunately, a couple of mistakes here and there, but not punished as quickly by Essex, and now Essex are going to have to try and break out of their own half as a counterattack. No such luck, though. Tom now, not the greatest touch there. Try to keep it close to try and rip off a shot, maybe play a dribble there, but not quite able to do so and just gives away possession. Luckily enough, though, for the Lions, they will start up another attack. Crimson passes to the center. Tom's there. Ripper on target, but George gets in the way. Essex with some great on-the-line defense here. And again, Lockborough, the Lions starting to look a lot stronger, but unfortunately, Essex is very prepared for almost every attack they've thrown at them. Oh, well, except for that one.
That one, were they? That demo coming through. Crimson spotted the target, must have been miles out. Came under this ball, faked it, landed. Yeah, that was planned for quite a while in advance once you realised that Stam was there to take the shot.
And there you go. That's one way to try and take out the defense there. If you can't get past them, might as well just take them off the pitch entirely. The Lions putting themselves up by 1. And Sig, they're looking a lot stronger here in Game 2. It seems like the loss in Game 1 ignited a fire because the aggression is there. The touches are a little bit more precise. Okay, maybe spoke too soon as Crimson almost passes it to the other team. But overall, I'm liking what the Lions are doing here right now. They look a lot more aggressive and they look a lot more confident in their play overall.
I've got to say, a 50 like that does breathe of confidence. Okay, you can't beat the opposition, but you reckon if you faced each other hand to hand, right up and close, you can actually get the beat on them that way. And I think there are some occasions where you have to concede that, and having the ability and the cognizance to go for that is useful. That being said, a double commit like that, Tom diving in front, I think he's going to get the boost out of this, and so that's at least something going for Loughborough. It's a bit of miscommunication. It's not really what Loughborough will be looking for. Just hopefully they'll be able to sort that out over the coming minutes and maybe not get punished by Essex too quickly like they did in Game 1.
The good thing about a best-of-7 is we've got a lot of time here for both of these teams to start showing us their utmost abilities, and I think that that's something the Lions are going to have to rely on. A little bit of nerves being shown to start this game, but luckily enough, they are actually still in the lead. We're about halfway through here, and so far, Essex has not had a really solid shot. Matter of fact, they don't have a registered shot on target, just getting denied every time they try and create an attack here, and once again denied. Stam's going to take this one through the midfield. 50-50 going to go in favor of Loughborough yet again, and they're going to try and find themselves a second goal. Again, Crimson out at midfield. It's this midfield presence right now, Sig. They are locking Essex into their own half and making it so difficult for them to even start any sort of offense.
That being said, I think there's a chance here. George playing that one through its off back, but bouncing up Lex. He eyed it up, but he didn't want it, didn't want to commit all that booster play, but I think was unlikely to have anything come from it. Stam, though, has got the ball to Crimson. She's cut it not hard enough, actually. Not going to go into that near top corner, so we're back to this sort of level playing state. Both teams trying to find a hold in the other team's armor that they can have a poke at. Switch now, his opportunity, going to play that ball right at the top. Stam, awkward. George is completely missing it, and Lex, that touch a bit subpar, so Essex and Loughborough once again at a stalemate.
Yeah, a little bit of a oh my word, stalemate here. Stam tries to break that with a nice solo play out of midfield, but no such luck. Again, this just still feels like the Lions, though, fully in control of this game. While we're finally starting to see an Essex offense, it does not seem like it's all that efficient, and it looks rather disorganized here, as Essex still have yet to have a registered shot on target. This one finally will register. But Stam going to make an easy save, and I think that's probably going to be the end of the attack overall for Essex. Yep, good clear out of Crimson here. Is going to try to link up with Stam. Wants to touch off the ceiling. This isn't on target, but Crimson's shot is the two-play here out of Loughborough. 1-2 punch, and this is a great little passing play between the two of them.
Oh, for sure. And I know we mentioned it before. Essex have been looking disorganized, but we said that last time. I thought they were going to come back into it. They had a sustained period, but as soon as they let go of that ball, they weren't able to get back on. Loughborough pushed it all the way up the pitch and then into that goal.
This is a good play so far here out of the Lions. They have definitely turned this one around, but the question now no longer is how are the Lions going to turn around, how is Essex going to turn around here? Sig, this was not an efficient game for them. Through almost 5 minutes of play, they did not score at all and did not get more than one registered shot. It's very clear they need to make some adjustments on offense. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. How do the rest of Essex try and bounce back after what was a not-so-confident loss here in Game 2?
Oh, well, I think they might be about to get a oh, dear, Lex. Okay, Lex has played that one over, but at least they had a good period of offense. They know what they need to do to bring this back. They just have to execute on it properly, and I think that's a good position to be in, even if you're losing.
Oh my word, they almost gave up another goal, though. That would have been absolutely heartbreaking for Essex. But luckily enough, they do not concede yet again, and they will finish at a 2-0 loss. The Loughborough Lions going to take their first win here in the series. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe this is an issue for Essex of where they're starting to let the Lions get a little bit of momentum. Again, these are the reigning champions, although it is not the same team as before. Even this trio is rather deadly, and if Essex lets them get too much momentum, this could be a rough series for them to try and, recover some of that momentum and some of that confidence on the pitch.
Well, yes. The thing is, they are going to have to execute on the play properly if they want to develop some confidence, and their plays have not exactly been filling me with confidence, so I can't imagine they're reaping any particular benefits either.
I don't know if they're feeling confident quite yet here, but the good thing is like we said, there's a best of 7 ahead of us. We've got plenty of time for these teams to try and find some confidence here. So I think that Essex should be able to try and get themselves recovered here. But again, like you said, playing confident is going to be huge for this team. For the Lions, it's kind of just play the same sort of strategy. The way they worked in the last game with an overwhelming offensive pressure, genuinely brilliant. And unfortunately, it's so difficult to try and counter that, even if you are a very capable team like Essex.
Yes, and again, Loughborough looking to dive in early, and I think they might be provided another opportunity here. Lex, that was a weak clear off the bat, but George, though, picking that one up and bailing him out. George came in at the start of the year, I think, as more of the one of the weak links in the game. Sorry, in the team rather. But of course, he's really stepped it up, and I think he's challenging Lex now. Tom is going to put that one in past George, though. I think that was a good spell from George on the back line, but unfortunately for him, 2 saves just a little too much.
Unfortunately, the way that it usually works is if you're going to make a save like that, you need someone on your team to try and get the clear afterwards. Otherwise, there's no such luck for your team in trying to make any sort of save there. Essex was not the greatest start, and unfortunately, they're going to have to play from behind for the 3rd time in a row. Game number 1, they were able to find 2 in a row that gave them the win. This time, though, it looks like the Lions might just be running away with this one early, 40 seconds in, and they're already up by 2.
Yeah, very quickly, just sort of piling on the press. We thought Essex had a chance earlier on, and I really hope in their heads they think they still do, because as soon as the heads go in a best of 7, that's maybe 2 games out of the window. And of course, the first one, hopefully, of those is already gone. 2 games, of course, for Essex at this point would mean they're going to match point, and they are starting to fight back here. Lex is off the kickoff, but that ball is forced through, switching that demo very useful from Crimson. Came off, I think, her line a bit there, ended up mispositioning herself with relative to the ball, and Lex was just able to flip it around the right side.
Well, we finally do see an Essex play that actually works out of the corner, though, so, I'll take what we can get at this point, as Loughborough are still up by 1. And with about 4 minutes remaining, there's plenty of time for Essex. But again, I really do want to see some more creativity from this offense here. It feels pretty standard when they approach the back half of the field. They just try and pull it into the corner, see if they can get a play together. And, well, they're going to do it one more time. Switch now wants to pass out to the center, which obviously is going to get cut off by Stam. Again, it's not only that Essex are not being creative enough with their plays, but it's that the Lions are now starting to read their plays. If they're going to make the standard approach out of the corner each time, I'm pretty sure that every single time the Lions are going to be prepared for it.
I can only agree with you there, really. I think Crimson is by far the best player on the pitch, so she will be sniffing these out. She might even be able to let her teammates know. Switch, of course, will try to keep up where he can, maybe make some adaptations, but I think Essex are probably one of the more standard teams, so switching something up just for this one team might be quite difficult.
Not going to be easy, but it might be necessary at this point because they are still down by 1 with about 3 minutes remaining. Essex do look good. They're definitely getting some better confidence back, but as they take it into the corner and get denied on yet another attack, it just feels all too standard right now. The Lions have got them read. They know this book. They've read every single chapter at this point, and the question is whether or not Essex have got a pen to write some more with. They're going to have to try and figure this out during the back half here. Lex will try and get some sort of offense together, but Crimson going to lock them into their own half, and not the greatest touch out of George. This should be a shot for Stam, and no, it's just going to go into the backboard instead. But again, the Lions just locking their opponents into their half, and this is what they do. They keep chipping away at the armor until eventually they find a hole in the defense, and they snipe it 3-1 in favor of the Lions.
See, that's the sort of thing I'd expect Essex to do is, pick up some boosts, get some demos, really break down the defensive integrity of Loughborough. But I just really haven't seen an awful lot of that. Yes, they've been putting shots on, but where's the follow-up? Where is the maintenance of the pressure?
Well, so far it's been non-existent, unfortunately. But, Sig, we've got plenty of time here in this game, only halfway through. The Lions, though, looking for their 4th goal here. Pass out to the center. Tom's on it, but he puts a shot very high and away. The Lions, again, though, they continue to press the issue here, and at a certain point, it could be one of these things where Essex have actually technically scored 1 goal, or have equalized their opponents in the back half of this game. Aside from the first 2 goals, it is 1-1, but they might have just let the Lions get a bit too far out of hand in this game, despite playing a bit more even during these last couple of minutes. They need more goals. There's no 2 ways about it. If they cannot find themselves a couple goals in quick succession, they're going to have their opponents on match point, and at that point, trying to play from behind to basically what would be get a sweep and a best of 5 at that point. Not going to be easy. Sig, this is another one of these things where Essex, they just need to be more creative. I'm not sure what else they can do to try and adjust, but these standard plays they keep approaching their opponents with just aren't seemingly doing anything.
I guess the obvious one you can start with is demos. We saw that's how they got their first goal in this game. It's how they got their first opening goal of a game. And I think if they're able to go for some more plays like that, maybe experiment towards the end of this one, if they're thinking about writing it off already, they can really look to pose a threat towards Loughborough in game number 4.
Gonna have to see if they can try and figure out some of that physical play as we approach the last minute of this game. Essex so far have not found themselves a second goal, and some chaos on the pitch here. George gonna bump into one of the players in the back end. Can this be an opportunity for... No, not for Essex. They were trying their best. Again, they keep trying to get this pressure play together on offense, but just doesn't seem to be working out. Oh, this could be the chance. No, no one will be there. 2 players in a row for Loughborough bump into each other, but despite the chaos on the pitch, Essex still can't strike. And oh, Sig, this is heartbreaking. I feel like if they can't score off of that, I'm not sure what opportunities are going to work for them.
Yeah, it's I think one of the issues there was the shot perhaps was a little misplaced. They blindsided one of the players and then played it practically right at them. And when you get a demo, when you get that smoke screen up, what you don't want to do is play it exactly where they want the ball. I think that's maybe key to some of their other plays as well, because like as you said, they keep going for standard stuff. If Loughborough are reading the standard stuff, they'll get into the right place for it. Tom, though, I think that's a slightly more unconventional play, coming off round the side all by himself after winning that 50, picks up the mid boost, gets back up again, plays it over the last person. I think a 1v3 outplay there, so possibly the MVP performance of this game.
Yeah, very good performance out of Tom, and as a result, Loughborough are going to take a 4-1 victory here. They're also 3-1 on the series now. After losing the first one, they're on match point at this point. This is not going to be easy for Essex. It is possible, but I'm going to have to keep reiterating the same thing that we have said so many times already. This just doesn't seem to work for a team when they keep going with the same sort of strategy. And this is just rings true for almost all of Rocket League. If your opponents start to figure out how you're going to approach, you have got to try something else. Like you were mentioning, the demo play is going to be huge for everyone on Essex, and I think that they can get this done. It's just whether or not they make those adjustments here in game number 4. If they do, or excuse me, game 5. If they do not make the adjustments, this series is most likely going to finish. But if we see Essex come in with a little bit more creativity on their offense, a little bit of a different rotation, I absolutely think we can still see the series continue.
And yeah, I think we can hope to see this series continue. It's not like Essex have shown that they're completely out of this. They just need to make those couple of adjustments we keep talking about, and they will be firmly back in this series. It's more of a matter of time, I suppose. Of course, next map, very grassy Manfield Knights. Do you think the players are going to prefer the darker colours? I know Essex in particular are one of the sides which classically have always complained about having to play on maps like Salty Shores Night.
Listen, I'm a big fan of some of the brighter maps here. I'm always a fan of keeping it a little bit creative, but every once in a while you do hear of a player who thinks that when they get the little bit darker maps, when they get a little bit more serious of a play, they can play a little bit better. So maybe this is the goal here for Essex. Maybe they were waiting until they got a map pool that they were comfortable with, and now it's time for them to pop off. Again, I want to reiterate, Essex are a very strong team. They are continually improving here every single season. Last season during the spring, they ended up placing 5th to 6th. This season, they're at guaranteeing themselves some prize money at 3rd at minimum. So very well done to Essex, even if this is the end of the road for them. But I don't think it is. I think we continue to see the series go on. I think that there is a chance here that this one is going to give us a game number 7. But Essex, you're going to have to try and prove me right here, right now. It is game number 5 underway. Essex, you have to try and win this one. It is make or break for you guys. You lose this, it is the end of your season. For Loughborough, you win this, it's a chance for you guys to go back to back to back to back, a 4th title in a row, and they are on the prowl already, putting shots on target. And Sig, Loughborough are looking to finish this one off in 5.
Well, we'll see if they actually manage to get the ball away. Sure, you could be threatened, but you have to get it in the back of the net. They had no issues last time around, but if Essex can consolidate a bit, that's not going to happen quite so often. Though Stam, though, it was a good pass, but Tom not getting there quick enough, and I think slightly deterred by Switch and Lex hanging out on the back line.
I'm going to have to hang out on the back line, and I will correct myself real quick. I am mistaken here. I thought that Loughborough had taken a couple more games than they had. This is only game number 4, so it's actually better for Essex. They do have a little bit of time to breathe here to even out the series and give themselves a chance. That being said, it doesn't make the game all the easier. They know what's at stake here. They know that if they do lose this, then their opponents will be on match point. 1 minute into this one, though, so far, and Essex are doing something you and I had mentioned many times to see. Oh, my word. They are locking their opponents into the half and keeping the pressure up, and that pressure is going to result in a goal within the first minute.
And I think maybe for the first time we've actually seen a bit of pizzazz coming out from the Essex side. Lex getting around the ball, actually facing the wrong way, then backflips into it. A much more powerful flick, at least in my opinion, than if you do it with the tires part of your car. They sort of retract into the car a little when you take a touch on them sometimes, and that means you don't get quite as much power off it. But you know, managing to get that backflip in, mixed in with the bonnet, enough for those straight back on off, and Stam going to get a pass out to Crimson, going to put it under the top switch. Catching that one is going to play it forward, and I think Essex might have actually broken out here. I thought Luff would be able to get back onto it, but it's too much time collecting resources. That ball going straight to the backboard. Stam having to deal with that one. Lex now looking very menacing over the face of the goal there. Luff, though, able to force it back past the halfway line. I think we've gone back to a sort of neutral state of play with both sides. Once again, looking to find a gap they can shoot through, and I think Luff might be about to be presented one as Crimson lobs it over the top.
Not the greatest touch out of Tom there, and that probably is going to be the end of the offense then. The Lions doing a good job here of withstanding this pressure from Essex. This definitely looks like more of a stalemate. Like you said, this looks pretty even. And in a game like this, it's usually a minor mistake that ends up being the difference maker here. The good thing for Essex, though, is they don't really need to try and look for some sort of mistake here. They already do have the 1-goal lead, and as we approach halftime, all they have to do is keep playing consistently enough, and they don't let the Lions get back into this one, or they could get a freebie. No one takes the shot, though. Tom going to somehow find the touch there, and despite 2 Essex players being there for what was not a great pass to the center, no one wants to dive. It's this really, really tense back and forth where everybody's aware of how costly a mistake will be, so they don't want to be the one to do it. Unfortunately, the Lions are going to make a costly mistake here. I'm not sure who it was out of mid, but Stam just a bit too slow to this ball, and Lex will punish.
I think Stam and Tom slightly double stacked in the right wall there, so Stam had to make an adjustment when Crimson's 50 went backwards, and he wasn't able to adjust fast enough. Like you said, I think maybe slightly unfortunate for Luffer there. There are plenty of other ways those 50s could have gone, but in that case, they did get the worst case outcome, and so they're going to be struggling, I think, in this game to really come back into it. 2 goals down is quite a mountain to climb, especially with the amount of pressure being applied by Essex.
They're going to try their best, though. 2 minutes left here, and Loughborough would love to put themselves on game point, not allow their opponents to tie out this series. And, well, they're going to try their best here. Tom going to be up in the center, wants to get a second touch off the backboard, instead pinches it into the ceiling. Awkward plays all around for Essex, but I think they might survive because of it. They're going to try and launch their own counterattack, but a double commitment's going to leave Switch by himself, and Crimson will punish because of it. A redirect into the top right corner. This is a brilliant shot from Crimson.
Just a draw-dropping touch. I've never seen him be pushed that close to the upper 90 and still go in. And George, he was just left baffled in the middle of his box. He was expecting something slightly easier to reach, but instead just punished, I think, by his lack of readiness. Damn, going to feed this one. It's off the post, though. Loughborough looking to break right into this game so quickly, but just about denied. 90 seconds for them to recover, though. That's also 90 seconds for Essex to tie this one up with one of their own.
Ooh, Essex going to try their best here to just get a little bit of an extra lead, and indeed they will. A very difficult angle from the corner here, and you know what? If they're not going to do passing plays at the corner, might as well be taking a shot, because shots like that are rippers, which might just let you even out the series.
Yeah, I mean, I would maybe put some blame on Stamp being on the near post, but it's not often you see a player taking a shot out there which is quite so lethal. Normally you can cover most of the net when the ball's in the corner, but on that occasion just found, you know, that 5% of the goal left open.
So far here, it's been a tense back and forth, and with only about a minute left, the question is whether or not the Lions can try and get themselves back into this game. 1 goal would be huge, 2 goals force in overtime. Let's see if they can at least get the 1 here, as it's a pass to the center. Pretty standard, so easily cut off by Essex, but now here comes the follow-up shot. Switch gets in the way. Crimson was doing her best to just bully everyone in net, which left them awkward, but somehow, some way, Essex has figured out how to recover here. They are very prepared on defense, and now they actually might have just wasted enough time to secure themselves the game. 30 seconds left here, and unless Essex just completely throw away this lead, they just need to stall time. I think they're going to even out this series yet again.
Yeah, I can't really say that Loughborough are going to have an easy time getting back with 15 seconds left. It's definitely been done before, but I think to get the ball on target that many times... Okay, The question has been posed, but I'm still not seeing it. I'll be honest, Pat.
I mean, hey, listen, the door is open, and at this point, it's huge for the Lions to try and walk through it. If they take this win here, they're up 3-1 in the series. They are on match point. They lose this, Essex ties this one up, so this is huge. Big kickoff for the Lions. They're going to win it. This is off the wall. Is anyone there? Tom is up, but he is blocked by Lex, and so is Stam. Stam not going to allow a shot as George gets in the way, and Essex, in the narrowest of fashions, are going to hold on to this win and even out the series.
And like you said at the start of that game, they changed some stuff up a bit. They went to some flashy stuff, and it worked out for them. Admittedly, it wasn't one of the dominant performances. I think it was 4-1 in game number 3 for Loughborough. So maybe looking for some of those to really stamp their authority down. But Loughborough, I'm sure, ready to come back into this.
Yeah, this is a great series. I have nothing to say, but I'm very pleased by this. After the first 3 games, it seemed like Essex had kind of just thrown everything they could on the table game 1, and then games 2 and 3, it looked like Loughborough were just about to start walking away with the series, but no. Essex going to keep themselves back into this one, a much better performance in that game, and now I'm starting to also realize this is going to probably be a pretty offensive-heavy series. It seems like both teams are kind of just trading off, playing this aggressive offense that locks their opponents into their half. I'm not against it. It means we're going to see some pretty crazy shots. Crimson's shot probably still my number 1 for the day, but plenty of time for anybody to top that. Let's see if maybe right here, right now they can. Essex trying to go for a pretty standard passing play, but Lex with a backflip flick might still continue the offense here. Switches up, but can't get the follow, but Essex right back to their usual stuff, Sig. They are just as aggressive as ever here in game number 5.
And I think now, after 30 seconds of the third for the respite, no, never mind, George. Going to fire that one to the target, gets a second. A sort of very belated dunk onto, I think it was Crimson there. Stam, though, now looking to break the halfway mark again. The struggling switch now going over the top. Lex waiting, but I don't think he positioned his car quite correctly if he wanted to get a proper touch on that. Crimson going to deflect this onto the side, and Essex really struggling to get that ball into the middle right now. They managed it once before, but these saves and these backboard clearances just being a little too easy for Loughborough right now.
Yeah, they just need something a little bit more creative. Like we said, it's these standard passes to the center that just keep getting cut off. And for Essex, when they were able to play a little bit more creatively, some solo plays that led to a follow-up touch or something similar, that was by far the best they had been playing all day. And unfortunately, because they did not find anything on offense, they threw every chip they had on the table, too far pushed up, and Loughborough will punish on the counterattack.
And that stands 1v1 coming through once again. Got a pretty famous clip. He just faked the breeze and then played it under the defender in a spring finals competition. And he just takes the 50 there. I mentioned it, I think, in game 2. If you know when to take the 50s at the right time, you can either catch your opponents off guard or get a solid 50 where the ball just travels forward. And that is exactly what we saw in that goal. And I think we almost had a very similar situation there where Crimson was looking to play the ball down and then take a 50, which could have gone in as well. Of course, the closer you get to that goal, the closer you get to a 50-50 chance of that ball just going straight in.
Whew. That one's not going straight in. That one's getting pinched across the net. Stam tries to get a little bit of an odd angle to slot one in, but no such luck. But Loughborough now have wasted 2 minutes of this game, and Essex haven't really had a good opportunity since then. Speaking of which, though, finally Lex does get a registered shot there, the 4th of the game for for Essex and the rest of the team. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they had a lot of success when it comes to this offense here. Again, being cut off in so many different instances. And, well, no one there to cut off that one. George just not expecting that much time and space. Probably should have been a shot instead, but no such luck in Essex. We have forced back into their own half. This is a little bit too standard for me right now. Essex just seem to be a bit predictable, and if it's predictable from here in the booth, you've got to imagine that the players on the field are starting to pick up on it as well. The Lions have done such a good job of getting in the way of so many of these shots, and unless we see something change for Essex here, they might just unfortunately let their opponents get onto game point.
I don't think Essex mind too much. It is only 1 goal. Last time we were, in this situation where Loughborough had a lead, it was pretty dominant. Loughborough really just stamping their authority on the series, and then Essex broke back. Maybe we'll see that again. Maybe Essex will come back even stronger and just take the last 2 games in a row. Maybe they'll just come back with 2 goals right now and take this game, put themselves onto map point. But we will have to wait for the rest of this game to play out to know which of those scenarios is going to come through. Crimson going going to get this ball over the top. He's looking for a solo play. He's beaten 2, but it is George going to pick this one up from the back line.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. As try as she may, Crimson not quite able to get a good shot on target there. Luckily enough, though, this will be an offense continuing here for the Lions, or so I thought. No, instead, Lex tries to get a counterattack in. Tom gets in the way and starts to rerun this offense yet again, but now some heavier touches starting to show themselves. This is not something we had seen earlier in the series. Sometimes a Rocket League game can kind of just evolve into ping pong where both teams are slapping it back and forth as aggressively as they can. Throughout the series, it's been pretty controlled and pretty close. If we do end up getting into a little bit more of a heavy touch match where it goes back and forth, I honestly think that's still going to favor the Lions more than anybody else. They seem to be a little bit quicker and are a lot better at taking some weird touches and just somehow creating a play out of it.
I mean, it does vaguely remind me of a rugby league game. It's a case of, oh, you have it. No, you can have it back. No, you. You know, eventually someone will be close enough where they think they can take a shot, and the only time that's happened this game really is with Loughborough. Essex, though, still have an opportunity, though, to miss it coming out from Loughborough. Maybe opened a slight margin there, but Essex have recovered nicely.
Recovered nicely, but now they need to try and break out of their own half. Essex still locked into their own half, and with only 30 seconds remaining, they just need a good shot, a good opportunity to even this one out, which they have not really been able to find. Maybe this can be the one. 2 players commit on offense here for Lions, but somehow they still are able to keep this in their opponent's half. Essex, no matter what they do, cannot find a way out. Maybe they found one here. Crimson, the last one back, doesn't get a touch off the backboard, but Switch and George both go for it. Miscoordination there, and that's going to be the downfall of the team. Essex with a huge chance to take the win, or excuse me, to take the tie and force an overtime, but oh, Sig, that is a heartbreaking way for the game to end for the Blades.
I'm just shocked. I thought we'd have been composed enough to handle that, and yeah, they fell apart with the dying seconds of the game. We saw in game number 1 it was a late goal which led to them winning in overtime. Maybe it could have been the same case here, but instead their match point down. It's looking very scary.
Yeah, this is I'm a little bit like flustered from that last one. I really did think that we were going to see an overtime right now. I'm mentally in an overtime right now, thinking that this game is still going on. But the Lions, in the narrowest of fashions, have been able to take this. I don't really know what else to say, Sig, besides the same things we've been saying before. Essex, you guys have got to start trying to play a little bit more creatively. It felt a lot of the issues that you were running into was the fact that the Lions were just very prepared for what you were throwing at them. So, Essex, you did a great job at this earlier, but if the Blades cannot make an adjustment here in game number 6, that's the end of their run. That's the end of this entire tournament for them, as it will be a 4-2 victory for the Lions. Let's see if they can do it, though. The Lions would love to try and go back to get their 4th championship game in a row. The Essex Blades, it's a chance for them to try and show their improvements. Again, last season finishing in 5th. This season, if they finish in 3rd, that's already an improvement, but my oh my, what would a championship mean to this team? It would mean so much. Let's see if they can try and get there. 20 seconds off the clock so far. Neither team with a good opportunity. It looks like Essex are trying to start yet another pressured offense.
And I don't think it can be understated just how much it would mean to Lex. This is last year. He's graduating after this tournament. And to leave, I think, on a high like winning Newell would really just make his Uni Rocket League career. Of course, he needs to win 2 games on the bounce right now, really needs to step up alongside his teammates, and Loughborough currently bearing down on this orange net.
Oh, not a great touch or lack thereof from Switch, though. A huge opportunity for Essex to try and get some pressure developed here and start this overwhelming offense that we know so well. But they will still get a chance here. Switch with a heavy touch that should go into the backboard. No, Crimson gets in the way. And a minute into this one, this looks a little bit more control, Sig. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it feels like both teams are starting to play a little bit more cautiously. Never mind, I'm going to take all of that back. Don't really know what happened, but I can tell you one thing that happened. Essex is on the board with a 1-goal lead.
That is very similar to how we saw Loughborough lose, I think it was game number 4. Stam just stepping up onto the backboard on the near post a little too soon before his teammates have really arrived behind him. And that opens up a lot of the net for the team to shoot from. And because Essex is such a high-class team, they're able to find that 5-10% every time. And it's looking dangerous once again here. Loughborough, though, able to scramble back and deal with it on this occasion, but still getting behind with 90 seconds gone.
Still a little bit playing from behind here as Lions, I think might give up another goal. No, Tom going to get in the way of that one. A cross-court shot that had some gusto behind it, but no such luck here. Essex trying their best to get a second goal here. I think this would be big for them, not only because of the fact that they'd have a 2-goal lead, but extra confidence going into what would be the final matchup of this game is going to be huge. Momentum is massive in Rocket League, not only for a mentality sake, but just sort of for the ability to understand your opponents on the pitch. And right now, it really does seem like Essex have got their opponents red. They're trying their best to try and find another goal, but reality is Lions haven't even broken out of their half in quite some time. Even if they don't find another goal at this point, if they just lock them in their half long enough, Essex will wear down the clock and take the win.
I think they would prefer a second goal to secure, and they're still looking for it. Switch back up once again. 2 shots towards the goal there. I think both registered, but both blocked away by the Loughborough side. But they can only block for so long. If they want to come back into this game, then they need to start making saves for shots like that. But they do also need to start getting some goals. 2.5 minutes, it's enough time to do it. But with Stam going AWOL for boost, maybe a bit more difficult.
Like we were talking about earlier, I think this was actually something we've been critical of Essex for before, was making really good saves. I remember George making a couple phenomenal ones, but no such follow-up from anyone else on the team, and this is kind of the issue right now. The Lions down by 3 with just about half the game remaining, and it's another one of these instances of solo play, no follow-up. Crimson a bit too aggressive. Stam out of the corner, and they've got no one blocking in the net. Too clean of a play, too clean of a kickoff, for Essex, and at 3-0, I feel like we're already inevitably going to game number 7 here. Loughborough might be able to try and pull themselves back into this one, but I don't know if they have enough time for 3 goals at this point.
I'm sure they've got time. It's just a question of the execution, which they've really been lacking, I think, in this game. That kickoff there, the ball went straight to the red zone. The player cheating can't get to it fast enough because it's pretty much behind them, and the player who's gone for back boost also can't get to it because they're just too far back at the time. And so that ball, with Switch's accuracy, is just going to go straight in the back of the net. And I think Essex are looking for a fourth here. George running up to Tom. It was with no boost, so it was particularly scary, but he has set up his teammates nicely. I think could have been a fourth there, but just slightly bottled by the Essex side. But no worries, they're still 3 up.
Oh my word, and they're extremely aggressive with this 3-0. At some point, I saw Lex dive from midfield despite both of their teammates already on the ball. And speaking of on the ball, no one on the ball here. The Lions with, again, coordination just not their strong suit right now. Crimson and Stam both miss, and then neither one of them wants to follow it up. Free space given to Switch, and it's an easy flick. This is unfortunate. Lions really starting to seemingly feel the pressure. They don't even have a registered shot this game, Sig.
Yeah, and that's a pretty dire position to be in. 6 saves as well, but saves, like I said before, not going to do you a lot of good without scoring some goals in accompaniment. 80 seconds now for them to score 4. I'd say this one's probably a write-off, and while the Game 7 would be incredibly cool, I think not so good for the players of Loughborough, who could be in for a long night if they want to win this.
Yeah, this will be a long night for them if they're able to, but this is also a scenario they've been in before. In order to make the lower bracket or get forced into the lower bracket, the Lions were in Game 7 where they lost, so this is going to look a little bit like repeated history if they end up losing yet another Game 7 here in this tournament, but we're not quite there yet. Game 7, I think at this point, is inevitable, but they've got a chance to recover here. They've shown some really good games out of them in this series. It's just unfortunate that they're not really performing here in game number 6. This is definitely going to be detrimental to their confidence going into the end of the series.
Yeah, 30 seconds, so a chance for consolation goal, and they've almost found it right there. Crimson going to smack it off the backboard, and I think Loughborough, maybe with a renewed sense of confidence once they realise they can actually get the ball into that position once again. Just, of course, like I said before, the execution not quite being there in this game, something maybe setting them off slightly, maybe feeling the nerves of being match point up.
Oh, if they can get a goal here, though, it would be huge for their confidence, and they are starting to get some real chances on target here. Cleared out. Tom should be there. No, Tom actually going to go all the way into his own half. A little bit of an odd choice, as that definitely was a chance for the Lions to get at least 1 on the board, but no such luck. Essex will take game number 6 and force a game number 7 here. It is make or break for both of these teams at this point. Essex, if they win this, they move on to the grand final. Similarly for Lions, but again, the Lions, it feels a little bit more important. They want to try and go for 4 titles in a row. They lose here, they don't even have the option of that 4th title. But like you said for Essex, this would be huge for them as well. They'd love a title on Lex's final year.
Yes, and I think if we see a similar game to that one, it is definitely going to hand itself to Essex Loughborough, turning themselves on way too late in that game, not really gathering any offensive momentum. And like you said, no registered shots about 4 minutes into the game. It was Crimson's shot right at the end that was their only shot on the board come the end of it. And I hope they step it up, and I hope Essex can keep bringing it to them so we have a nice, solid Game 7.
Let's see if we can get a Game 7 that we had been hoping for. Let's see if this is everything that it has been hyped up to be. 5 minutes on the clock. Both teams ready to battle this one out. The question is who comes out on top. You went into this one thinking that it would be Essex in just the narrowest of fashions, and you might be right on this one, Sig. Both of us thought this would be their best chance yet. Oh, that's not a great chance, though. Double commitment in front of the net is going to leave them vulnerable. If the Lions strike early, they might just take the game. So far, majority of the time, if the Lions are the first to score, they usually end up taking the game.
Of course, the main exception to that being that Game 1 where they conceded late and then lost at the end. Lex, so looking to right some of the wrongs from those games where they conceded first and put that one in the back of net. Blocked away by Tom, though. He had to pre-jump for that one, and it ended up being the right decision. Loughborough now, they've got boost, they've got ball control, or they did until Tom missed that. Crimson actually picking it up on his behalf, and they can look to really apply some pressure now with a minute left on minute gone.
Essex have got to be careful here. They look a little bit panicked. A couple of double commits here and there, and a couple of really awkward touches have left them vulnerable. So far, they have not been punished, but again, they need to try and break out of their own half and give themselves a reset to try and get the rotations back together. Maybe that's the reset they needed. Lux, though, are not going to get any sort of touch there. Lex tried their best to go for a pre-jump, and now have left George in a really awkward position. Crimson not going to get the shot, though. George with a follow-up out of nowhere. The recovery doing wonders for Essex here, and I think that might just be the end of the Lions attack because of it. Maybe no such luck. Stam can take this one across as Lex does not want to approach too early and leave the team vulnerable. This is a very interesting play out of Essex. We had mentioned this earlier. When they played aggressive, they were looking strong. Now they're playing pretty passively and just kind of playing reactive to their opponents, and I'm not so sure this is the winning strategy for the Essex Blades.
Essex historically have not had a great record playing these long series, especially when it gets to the nitty-gritty end. Game 5s used to be joked about that Essex couldn't win one back in the spring, so they did manage to rectify it towards the end. And in the best of 7s, I'm not sure I've ever even seen them win a Game 7. They've not had a brilliant record at all. This could well be their first of the year, and what a time it would be to do it. That being said, Stam has fired to the bottom right, and his shot is true. Essex not getting in the way of that one, and so they will be starting behind as we return to the game.
Now, this is a little bit inevitable. So much offensive pressure there for the Lions, just continually putting on shot after shot after shot and getting in the way of any sort of counterattack trying to be launched by Essex. It's not going to bode well for them, but with almost about half the game remaining, they do have plenty of time to get back into this one. But like we said, the Lions have done a good job of once they do get a lead, they find some confidence and just kind of run with it. Aside from that first game, they really have done a good job of keeping the advantage in their favor. But with so much time remaining, this could be another one of those exceptions. Essex going to try their best to force at minimum an overtime here, possibly get themselves some extra goals and maybe just take the win in regulation. I'm getting them ahead of myself. First, they need a good offense here, and that they will not find. Tom going to get in the way, and Crimson going to launch the counterattack for Lions. If the Lions score a second here, I'm almost already confident in saying that they will move on to the next series, as the goals have been so far and few here in Game 7 that it feels like you're going to have to work as hard as you can to find any sort of shot on target.
And that almost ended up reflecting straight back in Loughborough's face there. We saw a couple of shots in a row, but both teams able to recover so easily. That being said, George is up. It's off the back, but he's looking for the double touch. He's not going to find it. Switch playing the ball down. Lex trying to find a follow-up, but it's forced over by Tom. Loughborough once again just about holding on. George, though, maintaining this offense. It's a weak one to the back, though, and Tom is going to be able to play this away. Loughborough, I think, breathing sighs of relief right now.
Breathing sighs of relief, but only momentarily. A miss out of midfield is now allow, I think, no, not the Essex Blades to get into another offense here. It looked like they were prepared, but not the greatest touches, and they're going to have to try and recover, and that they will. George going to take a shot on target. Stam in the way, but Essex starting to show some offensive proficiency here. They're looking a lot stronger than before, and if they get back to this lockdown offense where they just keep their opponents in their own half for some time, it's going to be huge. Not if they don't have anyone on defense, though. Easy counterattacking Crimson. Open net, easy shot, and she might have just put the dagger in the Essex Blade season.
Yes, and I think that was well orchestrated from Loughborough. They see one man back. I think it was either Switch or George going for the far right boost from our perspective. So she plays the ball into a position where Tom can pass. Lex is forced to go up for it. That means he's out for play though, and so when the ball comes back off the corner, Crimson's able to just shoot onto the target.
She did exactly that. She put a shot on target that, like we said, might just be the end of this game and the end of the series for Essex here. They're going to try their best in the last minute or so to get some sort of goal, but they're still playing a little bit risky here. Like we said, an aggressive team is what we want, but we do not want them to abandon defense. They've been playing a little bit haphazardly, and that's leading to a lot of easy counterattacks out of the Lions, but a pinch out to the center might just give a chance here. Essex, if they can get a goal here, they might just have, oh my word, the ability to at least force an overtime, but no such luck. Try as they may, they have not found this goal. Tom misses. Is anyone there? No one with the follow-up, and once again, Essex just a little bit too slow. That was their chance, and without it, I think that this game is set and done, Sig. Not enough time left on the clock, and the Lions, in narrow fashion, Game 7, will force themselves back to yet another championship game.
And it's just incredible to think Loughborough looked so down in game number 6. They came back fighting in this one. They had their close calls, but ultimately able to keep Essex in their place.
This was a great game overall, though. This is everything we could have hoped for, Sigmoid. This was a Game 7 which had really good back-and-forth moments, a couple of sloppy plays out of Essex, but, hey, sloppy plays are totally okay here and there. Just didn't really work out in the end for this team, but the Blades still can be proud of taking home the 3rd place here in this Summer Championship. Not a bad result in any way, shape, or form, especially considering that they only finished 5th to 6th in the last tournament, so they secure themselves a little bit of money. They secure themselves the bronze here for the tournament, and they should be proud of that. But speaking of proud, the Lions should be proud to be going back to yet another championship. Sig, this is going to be a classic. A 4th in a row for the Lions would be massive for this team.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been done before in any domestic competition in the uni scene. I'm not sure it's been going on long enough to allow for such a thing to happen. So if they were to pull it off, that would be just incredible. Before we go, a word from our sponsors. This time around, it's Unite Students, and this time I promise I'm not going to mess it up. Their student accommodation from 25 cities around the UK, free constellation on your contract. If you're looking for accommodation still, which I imagine some of you might still be if you've just passed results day, get looking at Unite Students. We'll come back after a break.